Latino pride and culture in Tennessee. If you're a resident of Middle Tennessee, you live in an area with a burgeoning Hispanic community, as evidenced by Latino-owned or influenced businesses, community events, religious organizations, and civic engagement. Rich and poor, English-speaking and non-English-speaking, documented and undocumented, Latinos have become contributors to our vast and diverse cultural landscape. Schools and universities have also grown substantially with a more diverse Hispanic population. Students are not only from Mexico, but are from all of Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. And some are native-born Americans with a Hispanic heritage. Middle Tennessee State University Latino students talk about their backgrounds and obstacles they encountered in advancing their education.
That was when I decided that I was going to go to college, but for one particular reason, was because when I was in ESL, there was a teacher that was telling that it was during the ACT exam time, and everybody was talking about ACTs, and I had no idea. I never had. There's nobody in front of me to tell me about these things and how important they are, how important the ACT test really is. So when I went to my ESL teacher, which was a Hispanic, she was Mexican, I asked her, do I need to take this ACT? And the words that still to this day are the ones that motivate me to finish it was, she looked at me and said, "Oh no, the ACTs are only for those students who are going to go to college." And I sat there and I didn't take the ACTs. She didn't even tell me, if you want, you can go here. She just said, no, you don't need it because you won't be going to college. And especially with so many people, telling me that, you probably won't make it to college. People just throwing in the towel before I even got into college. It's kind of a struggle to keep those voices away from the mind.
So one experience that I can recall was my transition from high school to college. That was a major part that I had to learn by myself, just because my parents, they didn't even graduate high school. They didn't know any about the college experience or the transition. So really I had to learn everything by myself. I had to do all of the research and calls and meet with people to see how I can transition from my high school. How do I apply to college? How do I attend college? What classes to take? How to pick my major?
In education, in the education part in my life, when I left my country, I was in my third year of electronic engineering, and the previous year before I left my country, I had acquired an associate's degree in electronics. So I was going to two schools at the same time. I was going to college for my bachelor's degree, and I was going to the technical school to get an associate's degree. And my previous education was not valid here. I had to go to a lot to get my transcripts. And to get my transcripts from Honduras, I had to go there in person. And being a refugee here, that obviously was not an option.
I am from Ecuador. Ecuador is in South America. So many people, they don't know where Ecuador is. They think it's part of Mexico, but it's not. It's South America. Yeah, I came here to the United States like 5 years ago. Back in Ecuador for like 13 years, I worked in the film industry. I did more than 200 commercials, 3 movies. I was a producer, okay, and it was good for me. Yeah, when I decided to come here, it wasn't the same. I had to start over from nothing. It's been crazy because I have to provide for my family. I have to take care of my family, make money, pay bills, come to school, trying to get A's and everything.
My mom and dad, they came over, with visas and everything at first, especially student visas. Then they were like, you know what, I can't go back home. I can't go back to Mexico. Why? Because if I do, my children won't have the future they need. My uncle on my mom's side, he came back with me, but my parents had to stay. They couldn't really ride back with us. So they had to cross the border. They got caught the first time. So they were in jail for a few days. And after that, they tried again. They didn't stop until they could. Why? Because they knew if they didn't, my future wouldn't be as great as it is right now.
Changing political climates and priorities may affect the Latino student directly. Legislative strides are made for the Latino students only to be canceled out by party agendas and new electors.
We're going to build a wall.
Dr. Laura Clark, faculty at MTSU, talks to us about the history of this legislation.
At the federal level in U.S. Congress, there's been much discussion over the last decade or so about immigration legislation. Most notably, the DREAM Act that was before U.S. Congress a number of years back. It came very close to passage, but did not pass. And the DREAM Act was offering a real window of opportunity for children who were brought to the United States to get identification, to be able to work, and to attend college. In 2012, President Obama made an executive action called Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. This executive order addressed some of the same issues that DREAM Act addressed. And it gave these young students, these young people, an opportunity through registration with the federal government to gain what is called deferred status. They were still technically eligible to be deported because, they had undocumented status. However, under the executive order, they went to the end of the line, the very lowest priority on people who would be targeted for deportation. And it really gave these young people a time where they could breathe a sigh of relief, who could navigate their communities not feeling scared all the time.
It's especially important for us Latinos to get out there and vote just because this election is going to impact a lot of Hispanics.
When Trump became president, or he was elected, and I cried that night because I saw what was coming. I was like, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe it, but it wasn't for me, it was for all the kids, and my daughter especially. It was like, okay, I don't know what's gonna happen here, but we have to keep going, to look, maybe things are gonna change, but they're not changing. Oh, they're changing, but not for good. And my stepson in the school, he was bullied. He's half from the United States and half Latino, and he was bullied because the kids, they told him like, okay, why are you gonna leave the country because you're Latino, you shouldn't be here. So Trump being president, it just gave them permission to all these racist people to start showing who they really are.
With this year's political climate, I've had numerous students come to my office in distress, and that needed, some sort of guidance and reassurance on their opportunities in education and what was going to happen to them. Those are things that I think needs to be, addressed as well, because we have a lot of students that have so much potential and that come to MTSU to succeed.
Our work in La Comunidad is to continue to support these students and other Latino students here at MTSU, to continue in spite of uncertain times, in spite of happenings at the national level.
In the spring of 2016, La Comunidad at MTSU, which means the community at MTSU, was formed. Dr. Clark, a lifetime educator and longtime community advocate for Latino students, formulated the idea for La Comunidad and proposed a framework for this initiative with the help of an amazing leadership team composed of faculty, staff, and community volunteers.
My name is Dr. Laura Clark. I am a member of the faculty of the College of Education at Middle Tennessee State University, and I'm currently the interim director of Center for Educational Media, which is also associated with the College of Education. In this past year, I have also served as director for La Comunidad at MTSU, which is a new grant project sponsored and funded by Tennessee Board of Regents.
Well, when we talk about La Comunidad, what is beautiful about this endeavor is that it represents, in my view, an attempt to fill a void of leadership when we talk about Latino success here at MTSU, not from the top down, but from the bottom up, right? And we know that we are clear that La Comunidad is prioritizing Latino success here in academia.
I was inspired to write the grant for La Comunidad, first of all, as a suggestion from one of my colleagues, Dr. Barbara Young. We worked together on a lot of projects, and she brought this grant idea to me. And when I saw this student engagement and retention grant, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to propose a project to support Latino students and their success and their retention, ultimately their graduation at MTSU. As soon as we knew that we'd received the grant, Dr. Young and the other grant partners, who were Daniel Green, Manager of Intercultural and Diversity Affairs at MTSU, and Dr. David Schmidt, who is Vice Provost of International Affairs, they were the original grant team. Well, when we received notification that we'd received the grant, we started right away. In April of 2016, we began notifying other potential partners here at MTSU.
So I first heard about the La Comunidad grant and program through Dr. Laura Clark, who's the director of the project. And when I first heard about it, I was so thrilled to know that we were awarded by TBR for the grant and all the possible opportunities that were going to be available in the upcoming fall. So I was really excited about it and what the future would look like and hold for a lot of the Hispanic student and population, because there are issues that need to be addressed, and I felt like this grant would serve as a solution to some of the things that students have mentioned to me that they would like to see more of on campus.
So at the first meeting of the leadership team, we discussed how do we begin? And one thing we agreed on immediately was we needed to set this up so that it could be as student-driven as we possibly can make it. Bring students on board and then begin to listen to the students to see how should we begin to build La Comunidad.
Then I found out about La Comunidad. I got an email from La Comunidad, and I was like, wait, what's this? So I don't even remember now if I emailed back or I just came to the meeting that you guys had, and it was like, wow, this is what I was looking for. I wanted to do, but now it's there.
We have this teacher named Dr. Clark who wants to start La Comunidad and help Latino students who have struggles, especially first-time students. And they actually asked me beforehand if I could be part of it. I was like, on board.
So we really did not know how, but we knew the vision and we knew the values that we wanted to be reflected in this entire process.
One of our first goals was to set a timeline of some things that we needed to begin to do. And the very first thing we started, even before the grant officially began in July 1, we started attending some of the customs events where incoming freshmen and new transfer students were attending informational sessions. So we were there with La Comunidad to give information about it and to have some sign-up sheets.
We had such a significant feedback from students immediately, particularly mostly students that identified as Hispanic or of Latin descent, and also students that didn't identify as Hispanic as well. But immediately, the first few customs, we had about 30 or 40 students sign up. Then the next customs, it went up to like 60. And it was just amazing how all the things were just unfolding and coming together like naturally, as if this was meant to be.
We were speaking with students, and students were saying, well, what's La Comunidad? Well, La Comunidad is you. That is La Comunidad. You want to join us? Yes, we'll join you. Where do I sign? And what was interesting about that experience is that we had students who were participating in customs, but who also were non-Latino, right? We had a large number of students who just were interested and wanted to learn more about La Comunidad, this idea of learning more about Latino culture and Latino studies, which is beautiful,
In September of our first year with La Comunidad, Dr. Barbara Young and I and Daniel Green attended a Hispanic community festival in Nashville. We went there hoping to reach out and advertise La Comunidad and meet people there in Nashville, including prospective new students, just to let them know La Comunidad has begun at MTSU, and to meet any other community leaders, because even though our focus is here on campus at MTSU, the broader community of Middle Tennessee is part of who we ultimately want to touch and to inform and to be connected with. Another one of our early meetings and conversations was with Futuro, the student leadership organization for Latino students here at MTSU. We attended a meeting of Futuro to introduce them and welcome them and invite them to be a partner in this, because Futuro is an important organization here on campus. Another organization that we contacted is Lambda Theta Alpha Sorority Incorporated. They are a Latin sorority here, and we wanted to invite them to participate too. Some of our campus leaders are involved in these two organizations, and it was important that we had their partnership in this, and it has been a good partnership.
As a member of the La Comunidad leadership team, some of the programs that we've held throughout the semester have really had a tremendous impact on the student body. A lot of students that identified as Hispanic and non-Hispanic have gained a lot of benefits from attending events and learned a lot about the Latin culture.
And I been very grateful that we have continued this momentum this past semester, and with various activities that have been scheduled throughout the semester, and students have appreciated these as well.
In one of our very first events associated with Hispanic Heritage Month, the Office of Intercultural and Diversity Affairs held a Salsa Under the Stars night.
This was an event that we held back in September over by the Rec Center. We had students that were passing by headed to the Rec Center that literally stopped and decided to come over and join in the Salsa Under the Stars.
We had 2 MTSU instructors. They were phenomenal, they were great.
We approached 2 instructors here at MTSU who are also wonderful dancers, Mr. Paco Ramos and his wife, Angela Ramos. When we approached them to ask about them helping out by giving lessons, they were all on board with this.
People were having fun. We had, adults who were just walking out of the gym and everything, and they're like, "What's going on?" And we were like, "Oh, we're having salsa under the stars." And they were like, "The dance or the food?" Both, actually. And It was great because they were like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Can we take part? And as a student, I was like, why not? You're here, you enjoy it.
Even though I'm Mexican, we don't really dance la salsa, but it was even a new experience for me as well.
The parents were just like, I don't know. I'll just stand here and watch. Even though they were in the sidelines watching, they were actually dancing along. We had kids that were out sitting down and parents being like, oh, you gotta get up, you gotta dance. Of course, I went along and I was teasing them like, guys, let's go dance. After a while, they gave in and joined us. They weren't students at MTSU. They were just maybe family from students, maybe they have friends that were there, or they were just normal residents of Rutherford County. But they came out and enjoyed it. As much as they enjoyed it, I enjoyed it as well.
Dancing music from a different culture, from a different country was rather good to see all of that happening. And like I said, it was so much diversity at that event that it wasn't just Latinos. It was all students from all kinds of cultures, which made the event even more pleasant.
It was an amazing event.
And then afterwards, so many students were like, we need to have this more often. Like, why isn't this going on a lot more often? And a lot of students that always wanted to learn how to salsa and bachata had an opportunity to learn how to.
And with that small thing, having and students knowing it's available through them, through this organization, through La Comunidad, they're going to be like, oh my goodness, that's so great. Can I join? Do I have to be Latino? Honestly, I say, you don't have to be Latino. You don't have to be Hispanic. Anybody can come in because why? La Comunidad is the community. It's all together.
As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, we also had an array of other events on campus, which included Hispanic Heritage Night. During that particular event, which was held in the Tom Jackson building, we had numerous students in rave reviews. Students had the opportunity to sample food from various places throughout Latin America. And a lot of students had the opportunity to also bachata, salsa, merengue. A lot of students also learned about some of the different musical instruments that are used throughout Latin America. We also had a mariachi band, and it was just a lot of fun. And at the end of the night, students still were asking that we need more events like this because it brought together not only just Hispanic students, but I was just surprised to see so many students from all different backgrounds.
I attended the Hispanic night, and it was great. We had empanadas to eat, empanadas colombianas. We had face painting of the schools for the Day of the Dead, and we also had photo booths and a trivia night.
It was in the Tom Jackson building, and even though it is long and wide, we actually made it into, I guess you can say, 3 parts. On one side it was food, dancing, and all that, shows. In the center, check-ins, or on the other side, we had activities. We had where you can do papel picado, which is the paper you see that's, I guess you can say, tissue paper with all designs, and you lay them out across.
They had several games, traditional games, like loteria, which is something like bingo, but not with numbers, with pictures. They also had a station to make las banderitas. There was also a game, Jeopardy, but mainly for Latino culture. And I did participate. I did not want to. I was forced to. I was glad I did because I won.
So we had Latino, I guess you'd say Hispanic Cultural Night, Jeopardy. We had people, bells that you touch and ring. I was actually hosting that one game as well.
In the game, there were questions about cultures, different country cultures, different dialects of the countries, and a little bit more of a general idea of being Hispanic.
So then they're like, ding, Enrique Iglesias, point for you. And as you got points, you actually got to win, like Daniel says, MT swag.
It was just great, and I know Futuro and La Comunidad, they came together, helped to organize this, as well as Daniel Green. and it was very awesome. It was a positive outturn.
Another event that we co-sponsored this year with the Todd Art Gallery was the Joe Diaz art exhibit. This happened during Hispanic Heritage Month, and in this exhibit, the Todd Art Gallery brought a group of Latino artists from the southwestern United States to show their work and to discuss their work. We had an opportunity to meet with the artists and have a conversation with them under the leadership of Dr. Jim Chaney, who is a global studies professor and a member of the La Comunidad leadership team. Dr. Chaney led the artists in a roundtable discussion about their work and about Latino identity. And the issue of Latino identity is important for young Latinos to hear and to think about and to consider.
My name is Vincent Valdez. I live in Houston, Texas. It's a great pleasure to be here as part of the exhibition, which features the collection from Joe Diaz. I'd like to say a few words about this piece behind me. You know, for me, this has always been a pretty pivotal piece. I created this piece that is titled Recuerdo, which translates to mean remembering. I painted it in 1999 during my junior year at the Rhode Island School of Design, and it has I have a very deep connection to this piece for several reasons. It was the first piece that reflected something very personal and deeply rooted within me. It was my voice and vision.
My name is Benito Huerta. I'm from Arlington, Texas. I'd like to talk about this painting behind me, which is called The Hive. There are two aspects I'd like to talk about. One is that the painting is actually about flying chalupas. Chalupa is a Mexican food. Probably a lot of you may know it. It's a fried corn tortilla. So I started doing a series of chalupa drawings and then eventually paintings on velvet of these chalupas. And one of the reasons I kind of wanted to do that was and I didn't realize it, but I was trying to deal with my identity as a Chicano or Mexican-American art.
Hi, I'm Kathy Vargas. I'm from San Antonio, Texas, and I want to thank La Comunidad at MTSU for asking me to do this for you. This is my piece. It's called My Alamo, and actually what you're looking at is 4 panels of a 12-panel set, and they were done in response to a curator's request that Mexican Americans look at the imagery and iconography of the American West. And so for me, that meant John Wayne and the Alamo. The problem for Mexican Americans with the Alamo is that we won the battle but lost the war. And so the reality was that since the Mexicans were victors, we were also villains.
Hello, my name is John Valadez. I'm from Los Angeles, California. This is one of my works. It's called Catch of the Day. And this piece is a good example of what progressed from my early portraiture work. Back when I was in school in the early 1970s, becoming a Chicano was involved in identity, what we look like, realistic rendering style, but to subvert it to really show Latinos.
Also, we held for Hispanic Heritage Month Hispanic Comedy Night, which featured Arnie G., who is one of the leading Hispanic comedians and motivational speakers within the United States. So not only did he perform, he also uplifted over 100 students that attended that night in the KUC Theater. He used comedy to uplift them in ways of making students realize that Latino students, Latino community members, and people in society all share the same commonalities.
Well, I've been doing comedy for 18, 19 years now. I was on a bunch of TV shows with a bunch of people that, I was on a bunch of TV shows that nobody watches back in the day. And I was on tour with guys like George Lopez and Gabriel Iglesias, really famous Hispanic comics. And I was on a show a few years ago, clap if you think you remember, or maybe your parents used to watch a Latino comedy show called Que Locos. Anybody remember Que Locos? Oh wow, so Latinos do have cable. All right, cool, awesome. Because you know Latinos don't like paying for cable, huh? One dude in the neighborhood gets cable and then the whole neighborhood taps into that one box right there, right? And then we have the audacity to complain when our cable goes out. Huh? Hey, my cable went out. You owe me $50, dog. You owe me $50. And about 10 years ago, I realized that just making people laugh wasn't enough. I wanted to use the magic and power of comedy and laughter to empower people to fulfill their dreams. I love being Latino. I'm proud to be Latino. But people always ask me what's the G for, Ernie G. Is it Garcia, Gutierrez, Gonzalez? My full name is Ernesto Tomas Grichevsky. Messed you up with that one, huh? I thought you were Latino, stupid. I'm a Mexican-American, Puerto Rican, Russian, and French Catholic Jew. I am this country, gosh darn it. I'm not there to tell them who they are. I'm here to remind them of who they already know themselves to be. One of my jokes is like, you know who you are. When grandma talks to you and says, oh, you're the most beautiful person on the planet. You're so gorgeous. You're so wonderful. You're the best thing that ever happened to this world. Like a little voice inside you goes, I know, huh? It's true. How come not everyone knows grandma? You should tell everyone. And like we have this powerful sense that our grandma knows the real us. Then we go out into the world and people try to label us and put us in the boxes. And so I'm just there to remind them that who your grandma knows you to be, that's who you really are. And your job is to be that everywhere you go and to educate people on who we really are. So it's beautiful that you guys are here trying to figure out what it takes to get yourself through and eventually graduate from college. It's not just important that you got here. What's important is that you graduate. Why? Because the day you graduate from college, the day you can say, I am a college graduate, you will instantly transform the perception that people have of our community. How many of you know what I mean when I say that when most people in the world hear the word Latino, when most people in the world hear the word Hispanic or black or white or Asian, but especially communities of color like black, Latino, or Hispanic, certain images pop up into their head as to who they think we are. And I know in your hearts you tell yourselves, that's not who we are, that's who you think we are. Who we really are beautiful, powerful, educated people who contribute to this country. That's who we really are, right? That's who we really are. Yes.
The Latino community was able to enjoy themselves and be like, I understand this. I know what he's talking about. It feels great.
He also focused on workshops, leadership development, because after the comedy show, he proceeded with doing a leadership workshop the next day.
The Ernie G workshop was something that I would never regret ever going to. And he's just a great person. He was very motivated. He's very motivational and inspirational, and he's an amazing guy.
He told us to never give up, because with that same attitude, we can do it in a classroom.
It's one event that La Comunidad was a part of, which I appreciated, coordinating a very first community-wide event in honor of Dia de los Muertos, our Day of the Dead. And this was something that was new to MTSU, but very much welcomed and appreciated. I've heard several positive responses from students and faculty alike from that experience. And we were very fortunate to be able to also partner with other groups on MTSU, particularly the Department of Human Sciences, who were assigned to cook traditional foods that are typically served for this event for Dia de los Muertos, including tamales. They also had different types of sweets that they prepared for the first time as part of this event. I know that La Comunidad was able to contribute through helping with the tamales. I was able to bring original tamales made from a particular woman who I know in San Antonio, Texas, and she made 6 dozen or so that were part of this event for Dia de los Muertos. And we had fun cross-cultural activities for this cultural event, including face painting, right? Face painting, learning how to craft banderas, paper banners, paper flags, and skulls, decorating skulls. It was fun. I was very appreciative that La Comunidad was able to be present for that event as well.
Today, we are here to give honor and to celebrate the lives of those who we have lost. And every single one of us, I'm certain, has the experience of losing someone who is dear to our heart, who has influenced us in some way. If we can all take a moment at this time, just one moment, to think about that person and to be mindful of that person.
The heart of it for me was just involving students from different cultural backgrounds to understand and appreciate that this is very much a Latino cultural event, but the values that undergird this event is consistent with other values that you know growing up here in Middle Tennessee. Respect for your elders, honoring and loving your loved ones who are present and who have departed. Students were able to read personal messages that they wrote to their loved ones who have departed.
The event from start to finish was magnificent. The food, the face painting, the interaction, the energy, the programmed events that they had during the event was just awesome. They brought almost the identical feeling from how it would feel if you really were in Mexico during the real Dia de los Muertos festival.
The Honors College Lecture Series is a 1-hour class, and it's also an event that's free and open to the public. It's one of the requirements for students who plan to graduate from the MTSU Honors College. I invite speakers from on campus and from off campus. Most of our speakers are MTSU faculty members, and I try to include as many different disciplines as I can in the series. The lecture series topics change from semester to semester. Well, I chose the topic of citizenship, immigration, and refugees. One, because it is a presidential election year, and issues of citizenship are prominent. Also because we're witnessing a humanitarian crisis in Syria and other crises in other parts of the world. I wanted to create a forum in which students could be exposed to different points of view relating to citizenship, immigration. One of the best outcomes of the course is that many of the students who previously had had no interaction with immigrants or refugees came to see immigrants and refugees in a new light. Almost to a person, the responses showed considerable empathy toward people. On November 7th, Dr. Laura Clark gave an outstanding lecture on Tennessee Dreams, in which she talked about the struggles that many Latino students in Middle Tennessee are facing. She read some of their writing, which was very personal, and it also attested to their goals for themselves. These are students who are working hard and whose futures depend upon the legislation that is enacted.
Imagine if you were living in this country, having come here with your parents when you were so little you can't even remember it, and you've been living here until now. You know, what is that, 15, 16, 17 years you've been living here. Brought here by your parents who are undocumented, okay? Something that's important to understand. Whatever the status of parents are, is the same status that their immigrant children hold. That's not true, of course, if a child is born in the U.S. Of course, they're not an immigrant. They're a U.S. citizen if they're born here. But if a child comes with their parent, they hold the same status as their parent. And at this point in the situation of the United States, undocumented status cannot be resolved through any channels except to return to their country and come with a visa. which requires, in some cases, 10 to 15 years to acquire. And so it's not done. It's done sometimes, but very rarely, because for a number of reasons. You can imagine thinking of waiting for 10 to 15 years to get away from whatever situation is happening in your home, economic situation, crime situation, violence situation.
Recently, I had the privilege to receive, to be invited to a lecture. Dr. Clark was giving lecture in the Honors Building. And this specific one was about DACA and DREAMS Act, which, to be honest, I don't have a lot of experience in these topics, because being a refugee, I did not have to go through that. But I do know a lot of people that they depend on these laws to be passed. So I was excited to join in the lecture. In the lecture, I was able to share a little bit about my culture, about the language, a little bit of explain to the students about the difference in slangs between nations. Honduras, Mexico, Puerto Rico. It was very rewarding, because as a refugee here, I was able to share a part of me with the students. And I was happy I did.
One of the early ideas that emerged in a conversation I had with students back in October was the idea that as Latinos, a common interest is, in the words of the students, we love food and we love family. And we would like to get together so that we can bring our family and eat together. And so I thought, what a brilliant and simple idea. And so from that conversation was born our Family, Food, and La Comunidad. We held our first one in November. And at that event, we invited students here at MTSU, Latino students at MTSU, to come and bring food from their country of heritage, bring their family members, and let's sit together and eat.
In La Comunidad, we have these meetings. They started with bringing food. If you are from this country, bring food for that country. If you're from that country, bring food so we can know more about the food culture of your country. But they became something more, like it's not just about knowing the food of that country, so you're knowing the people from that country, and you start making friends, you start seeing things that are very common between each other, like, oh, you're from Venezuela, oh yeah, I know. You like this, right? And you like that. Yeah, I'm from Ecuador. Same colors of the flag. Oh, that's so nice.
We had, in that first gathering, about 35 people who came, and we spent a couple of hours together at our first Family, Food, and La Comunidad. We've held that event each month. We've had up to 50-something people attend, and it's been a wonderful opportunity to bring students together with their family, to meet each other, to meet people from the community, because we've had some community leaders come to those gatherings. At some of the gatherings, the MTSU Salsa Band has been there to give music for us. And we've also had generous support from the local restaurants here in Rutherford County who have donated authentic Latin American food. And so we do want to give thanks to restaurants including Pollo Tropical, Nachos, Alfonso's, and Mexivan. We appreciate their support, and their food was delicious, and this allowed us to bring authentic food to people, to share food and family and time together in our Family, Food, and La Comunidad events.
Studies have identified strategies that can be used to support Latino students' success in college. These strategies include educating Latino students, especially first generation, about the necessity of higher education, preparatory coursework, as well as the admission and application process. Educating Latino students about the availability and accessibility of financial aid and scholarships, as well as the opportunity for paid internships. Balancing family pressure and living away from home. Assisting students with finding mentors.
I applied for scholarships, and at first I was a little skeptical because I was afraid of being in debt, and I was like, well, I'm not quite sure if MTSU is like the right way to go, but I know that this was the best for my future, which is why I came to MTSU and attended it here.
There's actually one thing that I learned this last semester is there are so many scholarships out there that you know I know being labeled an undocumented student, or we tend to believe that we can't get no scholarships, that we can't get a financial aid, you know, and there's always a way around it. There's always a way, because just this last semester I applied for a scholarship. They gave it to me.
One of our recent initiatives in La Comunidad was to establish a mentoring program. Upperclassmen, juniors and seniors, and grad students who said they would love to be supportive of younger students and to pay it forward and to help them in ways that maybe they had not had themselves. And so we held our first meeting of mentors.
And another thing I'm hopeful for and looking forward to with La Comunidad is establishing mentorship programs that would allow entering freshmen to be able to be assigned to students who are upperclassmen within the La Comunidad program, to guide them throughout their academic journey here at MTSU, be there for them if they need anything, any assistance, just to be more of a support system in every aspect, you know, personally, and as a student academically.
I think that I would be a great mentor to other Latino students. I can help them achieve so many goals, help them, give them just information that they need about college, about organizations, how to get involved, Futuro, the Comunidad, all the organizations that are here to help Latino students. So I think it's really great.
And I think the mentorship program is very vital, because we all know that mentorship plays a key role in retention.
How is someone else going to learn if you don't have someone who went through firsthand?
This is one of my most proudest projects in the grant, just because this young group of people are so very impressive and have such a high level of commitment.
La Comunidad students tell us about the rewards of their experiences at MTSU.
It's been great. It's been different, hard, but I am continuing my education and I am following my dreams.
The reason why I transferred to MTSU was because I love this university and I think it's great. I love all the people who are here. I like how diverse it is, the different backgrounds that attend here. So I think it's a great university.
I've had a blast here.
I always tend to go over the boundaries and reach new heights, and that's one of the ways that I live who I am and how I am on this campus.
MTSU cares about equality. MTSU care about minorities. MTSU care about students.
I am glad I can say I am part of La Comunidad. And any time that I have the opportunity to tell someone about it, I do.
And luckily, so far, I'm loving it. You know, we're just in our first stages of La Comunidad, and so far it's been great.
La Comunidad is making this to the point where it would involve every kind of student. It will give students a home base regardless of their background.
We are just one team. We have to take care of each other, and I think La Comunidad can do that.
Dr. Clark, Dr. Antonio Vasquez, and Daniel Green talk to us more about Latino University student success at MTSU.
We will continue to support them, to build community for them, to let them have a place here at MTSU where they know they can come They have a place to come in La Comunidad. We will support their academic success and their social and emotional success because we're here for them so that they can graduate. That's the ultimate mark of success for any college student, is to get that degree.
The Hispanic population in the U.S. is one of the most fastest growing minority groups, and as numbers rise, it's very vital that institutions, provide the additional resources and support to match those numbers. I feel that La Comunidad is headed that direction in doing that and serves a purpose in finding resolutions to some of the disparities that Hispanic students face on campus. Some of those disparities include, invisibility issues, issues with being able to find funding for college, issues with not being able to enjoy the full campus life as most students do because they have to commute and go back home to help their family.
As an institution, our leadership must make a decision. We know here at MTSU there are over 1,000 students, 1,000 students who identify as Latino or Latina right here within our community, which is a beautiful thing. We also know that that number is only going to increase in the next 10 years. At some point, as an institution, our leadership, the administration, must make a commitment in placing value on Latino faculty, in supporting Latino faculty who are here, who will be here and part of our community, on placing value on scholars and scholarship that reflects the reality of our students, right? In Latino studies, we know that those are two critical areas for Latino student success.
MTSU students in La Comunidad and members of the leadership team talk about the future of La Comunidad and how this initiative can have a lasting impact at Middle Tennessee State University.
La Comunidad is here new to MTSU. Some suggestions I do have is to get the Latino community involved, perhaps the parents, so that they can have an influence on their children and let them know about La Comunidad and how to be involved, how to be involved here at MTSU, and how to just grow it.
To me, it's very important to, as a Latino, not only as a Latino student at MTSU, but as a Honduran student at MTSU, to tell people about my culture. I believe that I am the representation of my culture, that if I want you to know me, I will show you the best of me. Not only of me, because I am representing my country, I am representing my culture with you throughout my language, throughout my behavior, and the way I think. So it is very important to me that people acknowledge that I am Latina, but I am also from Honduras.
Well, La Comunidad has a really good potential, and it's starting here at MTSU. But with the good administration that has, people actually committed to do something with La Comunidad, this could be bigger than this country. I mean, it could be, because of La Comunidad, it could be international, it could be worldwide.
Watching students who typically never interacted or hung out with other student organizations now developing friendships with students from other backgrounds and other organizations. It's just really neat to see students really be able to get together from all different backgrounds for one common purpose, which was, celebrating the Hispanic culture.
And so we know as La Comunidad, we will be successful. We will have student success. We know that because we believe in our students, and the students know that.
Our intention in this project was to establish something in the first year that becomes self-sustaining, that will continue to go on whether grant funding is there or not there. and that the foundation of a new community, La Comunidad, will be established in this first year under student leadership, which is essential to the success of this project. As we look ahead to the future of La Comunidad, my hopes are that we will have an ongoing student presence established through La Comunidad under the leadership of the older students, leading the younger students who then grow into leadership roles from year to year. We're hoping to support academic success, support engagement on this campus, which we know through the research brings happiness, brings an enjoyment to the college experience that may not be there if students are not engaged. And that we hope to let students know, both here on campus and prospective students, that when you are at MTSU, La Comunidad is there too. And you have a place to go, people to be with, who have some common heritage. That's really the essence of what La Comunidad is trying to do. Bring together people of common heritage and let it be self-sustaining and not dependent on a grant. Because in the end, La Comunidad, it's not just a grant, it's a movement.
Non-Hispanic, non-Latino students say, can we join? And I said, sure, you're welcome to join our group.
Tilt and insert, dude. And you have to tilt. The tilt is essential. When you pinch and lift, you can't just go straight in because it'll fall. So you got to pinch, lift, tilt, insert. And if you're a real taco connoisseur, if you really are Mexican, you use your pinky to make sure none of the carne falls out of the taco right there, right?